And this is Top Clack. I'll wait for this to hopefully refresh for a second. Hit that F5 if you... I mean, it should work automatically nowadays. This is for me, but I'll say it in chat. F5 if you need it. Just saying.
If you need it.
You know what I'm saying? I know what you're saying.
If you don't need it, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. Oof, what a day, what a week, what a life. It's Thursday, everyone. Yeah, so am I. So am I. It's Texas breakfast. I know what you are saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're always aware of what everyone's saying.
Life's good. You know, I when I was leaving work, one of my coworkers in a like brother sister company that we share a building with was bringing in there's 100 fried chicken wings, which is 100 pieces of fried chicken. And I'm like, I can just speed home for Top Clack. I'm gonna nibble on a few pieces of chicken first.
Yes. I had some pizza, so I'm not actually hungry for the show, which is like a first because I'm always starving during the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I am feeling good today. It's gonna be a good day. All good things just like coming to me today. It's fantastic. So I am ready for this show. I'm ready for a build stream afterwards, and it's gonna be great. But for now, let's roll into a mail call because I got some cool things.
Before we roll into a mail call, let's roll into an intro.
Yes, we should do that.
Intro. Well, that transition. I don't know why I inserted that there, but whatever. You'll see it pop up randomly. Brian, how's your week going?
A week is going great, like I was saying. Awesome mail coming in the last couple days, and you know that makes me really excited because it's really cool things, and I'm excited to talk about them and show them to people and build stuff later.
Oof. You're so excited about the mail call. Let's just barrel straight into this mail call then.
Yeah, and I'm going to go first because that's how it's
go it. We're gonna show and tell, and you're gonna hide. I yield the floor to you.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the less exciting thing, but by no means that doesn't mean it's not exciting at all. So I did get my tofu case in today.
Oof. Tofu.
Which
Mapo tofu.
I wish. That's what they should have called it. So I kind of peeked at it earlier because I got it right before the stream, and I'll kind of open it up, and it's kind of like the Clipe, obviously. It's kind of like a high profile case. I got gray for mine. Pretty standard stuff. Tray mount comes with screws. Thought that was pretty cool. I went over it a little bit. Couldn't really find any like anodization issues. I have a couple very small blemishes that are inside that I don't really care about. But yeah, I was still pretty excited to get that because it was a really good price. The packaging is actually really good. It comes in this pretty sturdy box with a bunch of this soft cell foam, like everywhere, which I really appreciate that. And it comes with extra screws and bump-ons and stuff. So I really like seeing all that stuff on tray mount cases. So I'll probably do something with this on stream later. But the first thing I want to do on stream is build up this bad boy.
That bad boy. Before we see what that bad boy is, I want to give a quick shout out to Pooch Zag and AZ Walkerstop for those Twitch Prime subs. Thanks so much, everyone. Yeah.
Bump up Brian's volume.
I did.
Oh, okay. We're good. All right, so.
Oof.
I got my meme. My hot pink meme. The pink badge is in there right now, but I have a silver badge I'm gonna put in there. Silver aluminum plate. Just got, where are they? I got like all my gaskets and rubber feet and stuff here. So I'm gonna be building this up on stream later. This is what I'm most excited for because it is a gasket mount design, which is really cool. And I am stoked for this. So stoked. It's also a pretty for not having a weight. This is an oddly heavy keyboard.
That's good.
Like fully built, it's not going to be that much lighter than the Zephyr, and the Zephyr has a brass weight and a 5mm brass plate. So pretty interesting stuff there. I'll be showing that off and taking some more pictures and stuff later on. But that's going to be really cool. I also Got some fun switches in from the legendary man himself, Chris Swires. He lubed some switches for me, so I wanted to see what his style was like. So I have some, I think they're Zeal bottoms, cherry tops, vintage black stems, 65 grid springs, and he lubed them with Krytox 104. So I'll probably be using those at some point as well. So yeah, I also have some Greetech blacks that I got in. He also sent me some of those to try out, and I'll talk more about those later on stream as well. But yeah, lots of cool things came in for me, and I am really excited to get to all of them. What about you, Huey? What have you gotten?
I got something pretty cool yesterday. Some of you guys might have seen me build it up. I got after a long wait, my polycarbonate TGR 910RE. It is, even though polycarbonate, and yes, it does have a brass weight, it's surprisingly heavy and hefty. I had a few people on Discord guess last night how much they thought it was.
I was way off.
Yeah, feel free to guess in chat right now. I have my scale in front of me. Don't cheat and try to remember from last night if you did watch. But the weight for you who are entering in the guess right now, because you guys have delay, hopefully you guys are guessing right now, is 4 pounds, 11.4 ounces. So, not too bad. Not too bad for all polycarbonates, except for the brass weight and brass plate. So that's pretty exciting. I got that. I built that up with Revo Whites, which was pretty cool. I have the Cat's keycaps on, but I'm probably going to switch it to Cherry. Speaking of Cat keycaps, though, you guys might have noticed last week, I did receive 2 sets. One for myself to review and to give input on, and another to give away. The issue was that giveaway set, it had a die sub error with the tab key, which was the tab key was upside down and it said Alt. So this week I got a brand new Cat keycap set, which Top Clack will be giving away, not this episode, but in an episode coming soon near you. So that'll be pretty cool. Unreleased keycap profile. It is a sample prototype still, so there's still changes they're going to make between the ones that you will get, we have, and the final ones when they release. So that's going to be pretty hunky-dory. And that's about it for my mail call. I got some other switches in. I'm probably going to build with Brian tonight. I have the GON MX Mini, which I need to build for the umpteenth time. A few projects here and there to muck about with. So that will be a fun time in the sun.
But now, we must do the news. The news must be done by us. And there is some fun things in the news this week, I assure you.
Transition. Cool. Oh, the transition didn't work that time. That's annoying. There we go.
It worked after the intro, but it didn't work this time.
Yeah. Well, I forced it to go. Even so, it's gonna be like it's gonna show up, and then it'll intro out of nowhere, and then it'll be normal.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Starting with fantastic things. Colors are fantastic because without colors, life would be quite dull, or at least without good contrast. So speaking of great colors, pastel colors have been pretty popular, and we're going to start off with the interest check for GMK Muted Mr. Sleeves add-on kits. This is done by Mr. Nathan Kim, who is pretty big. Hold on. You talk real quick while I fix something.
Yeah, so like he said, this is started by Feel Good Music, who is Nathan Kim on his YouTube channel. Really nice guy. And it has kind of this unofficial presence to him known as Mr. Sleeves, because he always has like different color sleeves on when he's typing, apparently, in his videos.
It started with 2 ways. Yeah, it started with his sleeves, and then I don't know. It started in our Discord. I don't know what the context was, but essentially we established a mafia where he was like, he's the sleeves. I'm gonna send the sleeves after you, and then he's gonna he's gonna use like loose sleeves to like choke you out, and that's how the sleeve gets you.
Yeah, man, that's some shit right there. Anyways, as far as the colors go for the set itself, or the add-on set itself, they're actually pretty good, and I think they're a pretty close match to the sleeves in the videos. And this would be something I would use, particularly the blue. I think the blue is really nice.
I was thinking, I don't think it would be probably way too much for what he wants to do, but it would be really cool if he had like 1U novelties that were like for the lighter peach color. It said left on it, as if like his left sleeve, and then the baby blue would be like right. It's okay, left sleeve, right sleeve. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a cool accent kit. Muted is an extremely popular set because it's extremely versatile, and this kind of proves how versatile it is, where it's really easy to make more kits with it. And I think, it's going to be awesome.
Heck yes. I will probably join on this, since I do have Muted and I like these colors and I like Nathan. This is something I could be into, as long as it's not like too outrageously expensive.
Yeah. Although,
and before this is like $100.
I'm really confused. Okay, so like I said again, he used peach for his left sleeve and the blue for his right sleeve, and all of his renders that's flipped, where he has the enter as peach and the escape as blue. Come on, Nathan, up your render game. You wouldn't think I catch details like that, but I'm looking out. I'm looking out. But it's okay. You're a cool cat anyways. Speaking of cool cats, that brings us to our next topic. This is done intercheck by Shower King, and this is for GMK Cat. Maybe Cat in SA profile, TBD, I guess. This is over on Keycaps right now, and he does have a forum asking what profile should he consider doing, but this is his general colorway he's going after, including some of the best cat novelties. I'm a big fan of the wind-up mouse.
These are some pretty epic novelties, I'm not gonna lie. I like the fish bones and like the ball of yarn, and particularly the enter accent with the cat looking at the butterfly that's flying away. It seems like the novelties are really the heart of this particular set. I don't really understand the colorway, but maybe this is like a theme to something that I'm just not aware of.
Maybe he has a cat that has yellow and white and gray.
I suppose so. Yeah, that could be a thing.
How do you feel about row 1, top row, number row stripe? Because that really hasn't been done well since Skull Squadron.
I don't like it. I would never use this set because of that, personally. I don't really understand it.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the colors, nor am I of that stripe. I don't think it works particularly well. But hey, this is interest check. Maybe things are bound to change.
For sure. It's supposed to be cat vomit. What? Seriously?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Hey, it's bound to change. And speaking of change, the metaverse is changing all the time, which brings us to our next topic, GMK Metaverse, running now. This is done by Dead Encryption, designed by Dead Encryption. We did talk about this when we ran an interest check a few weeks back. I really like the colorways. There's a lot of detail here. He's working with Rama for some awesome caps as well. But yeah, we got our black on white with reverse mods, with JIS, with red accents. Cool.
This is
good renders.
I definitely like this set. It's a very busy set though, between having the sub legends and accent colors. I definitely appreciate it. It's very intense, if nothing else. But I am a big fan of just having black and white, so I'm okay with this.
So we're starting at a MOQ for the base, 150 units for $160, and he moved to 250 MOQ, and then we're down to $145. Big question of the evening, because it is day 1. Do you think this will hit MOQ number 2? That's kind of a big. I have confidence it'll hit number 1. I think it's cool enough.
Yeah,
and it's definitely unique enough to hit number 1. But will it hit number 2? I think that's gonna be the big question.
Who's the U.S.? Oh, it's okay. So it's donut cables. I think if they really nail the advertising and they just really push this like constantly, I think it can hit 250. I don't think it's going to be easy though. The novelties are another question. They have MOQ steps of 100, 150, and 250, which is $70, $58, and $48 respectively. So hopefully we get the the novelties down there pretty low to hit that $48 mark. But it's going to be tough. I don't think the MOQ 250 for the novelties will be hit. I think that's pretty ambitious, unfortunately. But yeah.
So if I had to nitpick one thing for the sake of nitpicking, because I'm Huey, is I wish there was, so on the base kit, you have the accented F5 through 8, as well as the mod colored F5 through 8. I would have also liked to see an alpha colored F5 through 8 and an alpha colored escape. Because
alpha colored escape. Nobody uses alpha colored escape. Do you mean mod colored escape?
Or sorry, mod colored escape, yeah. And then it'd be alpha. Sorry.
There is a mod color escape.
Yeah.
And then there's an accent escape, and then there's an accent novelty escape. So your escapes are all covered here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Reverse that. It's alpha colored F1 through 4, alpha colored 9 through 12. My bad.
Oh yeah, that is how that works.
The traditional function row alternating. Yeah. My bad, guys. I reversed it. I assumed he had it right instead of him flipping it.
Yeah, interesting. I definitely agree with that.
That's my main nitpick, and if I don't get this set, it's going to be for that reason. Or I just never use it on the TKL.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously an option too. I mean, I think there's already quite a few keys in this set. I think by adding another 8, the price might not be quite as good. But also at the same time, you could argue that he could swap the mod colored ones out for alpha colors, since no one, traditionally speaking, uses mod colored F1 through 4 and F9 through 12 anyways.
I mean,
no set has that.
This could be the theme he's going for, because having the all dark perimeter basically has a different kind of image than the traditional. I mean, it's kind of like what Olivia did when she forced accent spacebars. Is kind of a different vision for how a key set should.
Yeah, there's always that argument there that the designer doesn't want to conform to the traditional norms and wants to push something that's very different, just because that's what they want. And on some level, that is definitely fine. Just like when Olivia did the forced alpha colored or the forced accent colored spacebar on GMK Olivia.
I'm just too old-fashioned.
Yeah, I am too. I like the more traditional approach, but applause for trying something different as well. So maybe people will like this more. Who knows?
So see, people are telling me the numpad is all mod colored. I don't care about the numpad because I don't use numpads. I just didn't even look at it. If I ran,
it totally is. That is also very different. Interesting.
Okay, so let's move on to something. Speaking of different, this is interesting in shape and style. Moving on to the intercheck for a keyboard. Now that we're wrapping up our keycap news, is the intercheck for the Grid 600 with interchangeable pieces for GH60 PCBs.
This is a pretty interesting one, and obviously very, very early interest check. All he really has here are renders, then some basic specs. But I thought the vision was kind of neat. I like the idea of I really like the look of God, what is he called here? I think this is called the module type
5, 3, or 1.
5.
The press.
I'm imagining the press is the one that has no blockers and has the 4 keys up top.
That's the.
Why would that be?
I don't know. Maybe.
The middle one's obviously.
I just assumed he'd do them in order, but maybe I'm wrong. Classic. A regular Model F inspired flat top.
It's press, then peak, then classic. They are in order. It just starts left to right, not right to left.
Oh, okay. I'm weird.
Is my assumption. I imagine press means the extra keys, so no blockers plus the 4.
Yeah. Press is the 4 additional keys. Yep.
Okay. for whatever reason, I really like that design. I do not like the peaks, and I think the classic is nice as well. But the press really has my attention here.
I'm going to say no for press for me personally. I would go. I kind of the classic. I like the idea, but I don't like how those. Is it me or those HHKB blockers are like recessed in and external? Like you like.
So those are both the ones with blockers appear to be add-on blockers.
I don't like add-on blockers. Just give me a case where those are integrated and forced and fixed in, please. I'm curious to see the Type 06 paper with a 2-inch e-ink paper display. To be perfectly honest, like I want to see how that will be actualized and what that actually means. Will just show me my layer, what layer I'm on, and some other small information on top. I don't know.
He says a Raspberry Pi would fit in it too. That could be a really interesting project. And we will for sure have to keep track of this to see if anything of that nature happens, because that is just freaking baller. If you could fit a Raspberry Pi in this keyboard, because then you could just like take it around and like your keyboard is your mobile tiny PC.
I believe what you're talking about is a laptop.
Yeah, but it's all on a keyboard though. Like
I know,
man. I don't know. Something about like that just like really appeals to me. I don't know why.
Well, we will see. We'll see. Like I said, this is still pretty early. But hey, this is interest check. Give some interest. This seems to have a decent amount of views and people talking already on Keycaps and on Keep Talk. So check it out where you can, when you can. What you getting?
Heck yes, I dig this.
Dig this. Speaking of things that dig, salamanders. They dig. And
do they?
I dig salamanders. Which brings us to their next topic, the intercheck for the Korean salamander, which has been teased by Water in our Discord channel quite a bit, actually. These are samples. It's cool they have physical, actual samples. Cool thing about this board, you can get PBT plate. Like, PBT plate? Cool.
That's new. That is very interesting.
Yeah, you can get you can get polycarb top bottom or acrylic. You TX87 PCB, 7-degree slope. So at the top bottom, you can have aluminum or polycarbonate. For the weight, you can have a gold brass weight, or you can have a stainless steel weight. For the switch plate, you can have stainless steel, PBT, PVC, ABS plate, or a carbon plate. So, those are some options right there. Okay. And unfortunately, shipping to the US is the most expensive at $75 US.
Are PBT and PVC, those are different, right?
Yes. PVC is like, like the cheap plumbing pipes that you can get at Home Depot, and PBT is PBT.
I'd be really curious to try either of those materials as a switch plate, just because no one never really has before, I think. That would be something to consider. One thing I thought was kind of interesting here is that if you take a look at the polycarbonate bottom versus the aluminum bottom, they're actually different designs.
Yes.
Which I thought was kind of strange. Usually you don't do that for the same keyboard. But, something interesting there. But,
I like it.
It's nice. It's a very nice, simple TKL. I dig it. It kind of, has remnants of like an LZ board.
It's thin. I like the thinness.
Yeah, it's a little thinner, and it has those like full side cutouts basically. Of course, you got your wing keyless there, and it's nice. It's a very nice, simple, clean TKL. I got nothing to hate on for it.
I'm really liking it. I'll try to ask if I can get one because there's only going to be 10 to 20 slots at a time, according to this post. So that's going to be kind of close to try to get one, I think. It's already in progress in Korea. This is going to be for prepping for the international foreign group buy coming out after that one concludes. So what are we looking at? We're looking at $410 for top bottom. We're looking at another $85 or $45 for a weight. And then we're looking at another between $35 and $55 for a switch plate. And then shipping. So you're easily looking at $600. easily.
Easy.
Easy
Yeah.
600.
So, man, keyboard. I feel like keyboards are just getting more and more expensive. But maybe that's just because they're just getting more and more features, like, as time goes on.
More and more betterer.
Yeah. Because, like, 3 years ago, like, 3, 4, or 5 years ago, who spends $600 on a keyboard?
Only people trying to find vintages
And now, like, every custom that comes out is, like, $450 is, like, a good price. Like, and then, like, your normal, like, more expensive options are, like, 500 to 600. So I don't know. It's man. I mean,
yeah.
I guess just inflation in general, I guess, is part of that. But man, keyboards are expensive these days.
Okay, real quick. Let me spec out. Let's spec out a top end. Okay, go at 410 plus brass weight plus 85, so we're at 495 plus 55 for the carbon plate, which puts us at 550. Plus the shipping fee of $75 to the US, which is $625, and that's not even including if there are PayPal fees,
which will be another
2.2%.
Nice
yeah, so we're at
4.4 usually.
Yeah, so we're at $650-ish. Oof.
Definitely not cheap.
But that's the highest end, and the bottom end is probably closer to like 5. Just
It's really not. It's really not that different.
No, it's not that different.
It's really not that different.
Maybe $50 different.
Yeah, it's about $60-ish. 20 plus 40. Yeah, it's like literally $60 cheaper for like the cheaper options. So about 10% cheaper. Yep, not a cheap board, but hopefully the quality is there and the group buy goes extremely well. So that'll at least start to make a little bit more sense for this price.
Yeah, and speaking of things that are there, thin boards are I think they're having a comeback for a lot of custom boards, because for a while we had a lot of big, chunky, thicker boards like my Mira, for example. I don't know why I'm pointing the wrong direction, but now we're getting a lot of thinner boards like this board and our next board, which is an interest check for Zambumon's Vern or Vern A.
I want to call it Verne, but I think that's probably wrong because there's no accent.
You know what? Let's call it Verne until he says we're right or wrong.
He's probably in chat anyway. He's going to correct us.
So this is the Verne by Zambumon. He has a lot of text here. It is really, really worth reading because he's put in a lot of work. He has actual samples with him. They exist. They look beautiful in my honest opinion. Like that white, how that white reflects against that not numpad. It's a desk mat. Beautiful.
Yeah, if people are out there that are wanting to run interest checks, take notes here. This is how you run an interest check. He's got a physical sample. He has so many pictures, so many renders. He's got tons and tons and tons of information. This is a proper interest check. He
walks you through his thoughts, why it exists, how it exists, what makes it different, what makes it Zambumon's. Like, he wanted this, and he made it very clear in all this reading. Like, if you get a chance, even if you're not interested in buying the keyboard, it's worth reading about going through all this. So
yeah, it looks like people are saying it's Verne, as in like Jules Verne from what popular thing is it Journey to the Center of the Earth or something like that? I don't know. Either way, yeah. Perceivably, it's the Verne, which is fine, which makes sense for his like Nemo and Nautilus kind of themes as well. So I get that. It's supposed to be kind of a relatively simple and fairly inexpensive TKL, hence why you don't see things like a weight. Or maybe like crazy options like 5mm brass plates and all that crazy stuff. So a fairly simple one, but hopefully we can get some amazing value out of this, which is how it's looking. No estimated prices that I can see, but we'll have to look forward to that because I'm interested in this. I need a really nice TKL in my collection.
Same, and it's going to be USB-C. And as we all know, USB-C is the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to this one.
As am I. So let's move on to our next one. I have a polycarbonate board in front of me, and polycarbonate definitely seems to be the material of 2018. Which brings us to the group buy now for the Noxary 268.2 polycarbonate by Zondet, who's known for doing the aluminum version of the 268, which is 65%, as well as the X60, also running the 280. He's a busy individual. This is it. Improvements on the 268 done in polycarb. Go to a shop.
Basically, yep. 8-degree angle, top mounted plate. You got USB-C QMK PCB that will be red, which is kind of interesting. You have a brass weight in there for all of your weighty goodness. It looks like there will be 30 of the frosted white available and 5 of the frosted pink, which is kind of interesting. I'd really like to see what the frosted pink ones look like in person. One thing, the biggest gripe I have with this particular thread is that there are no pictures. He just has 2 very basic renders. And of course, I've seen the 268 before. It is a lovely board, and it's a very simple design, just like his X60. He has a very precise design language, and he does all of his stuff kind of like that. So I'm aware it's going to look very nice, but the frosted pink has me really curious.
Just find an old frosted pink Game Boy or N64 or N64 controller.
Doesn't mean it's going to look exactly the same. Don't give me that shit.
Believe. You can go to his website now. The polycarbonate case itself is $365.75. I'm surprised you put cents and 75 cents. The plates are $31.35, PCB $31.35, and option to get stabilizers as well, if that is a choice for you.
It's about $430 before shipping to get a full kit of this, not including stabilizers. So definitely not a cheap option, but I mean, like we were just talking about with prices earlier, this is kind of like the average price for a custom board now. It's just getting up there because of, all the intricate design work that people are putting into things and all the features that people are adding to things that, we didn't really see until more recently. So prices going up for things, it seems.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So it's an interesting board, has a very clear design language, as you mentioned, and the next topic is something that definitely has a very clear, this is our design. You're going to love it or you're going to hate it. Very clearly, and that's going to be on Massdrop, the Massdrop Zslane Mercury Rocketeer keyboard, which is this right here.
This is an interesting one. So this is a Massdrop collaboration with Zslane, who is a popular member of the community, who I believe I think it actually says he's responsible for some other things like Dasher and Dancer, I believe, as well as G20 Semiotic. So he has been doing design work in the community for a while now, and this is presumably his keyboard vision, which is really interesting to say the least. I'm not 100% sold on the design. It's a little too flashy for me, perhaps, but I appreciate the kind of timeless aspect of it. It does look very interesting, if nothing else.
So I actually don't mind the fact that if you look on the sides, it goes from low profile to high profile. I wish it went from high profile to because at the very top, it's almost the same height as those highest keycaps, which means that top row is enveloped. I'd rather go from high profile to enveloped profile for the keyboard.
Yeah, that's why I'm really looking forward to Zombumon's Nemo 60%, because that's exactly what that does.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Pretty interesting stuff here.
Yeah.
Obviously, a 60% is die-cast aluminum, which is cool. You have an aluminum plate. Got USB-C there. Does it? I actually don't know. Does it come with these keycaps, or is that a separate add-on? Excuse me. Hopefully, if it's a separate add-on, it's not too expensive, because it looks like the keyboard alone is going to be $250. Which I guess in the grand scheme of things isn't that expensive, considering the things that we've been going over already.
Mm-hmm.
But
No, the base price does include, so the base price of $250, $249.99, includes die-cast aluminum chassis, aluminum plate, custom PCB, base kit, keycaps, and your choice of switches.
That's actually a really good value then. That seems really reasonable.
Yeah, reasonable value.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. That's nice. That's something that usually only people like Massdrop can actually, get down to that kind of price, because they can actually push the proper value and volume to meet those MOQs. So cool. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but it's very interesting if nothing else, and hopefully people will love this and get a lot of value out of it, because that's a pretty good price.
I think for a lot of people, if they had like a white powder coat version for that case, it would be really popular too. Or like a beige version, so it's like a modern retro or a future retro, future kind of look to it, other than just that seafoam-ish green. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Let's move on to another 60%. That's definitely what would most people say the high end of tray-mounted 60%, which is the run of the Fjell Classic Revision 2, coming soon to a Leandrin near you.
Yeah, so I woke up to a very interesting email, because I am subscribed to the Mechanist newsletter, and basically the cut and dry of this is he will be doing a very limited run very soon. How soon?
12 hours.
Less than 12 and a half hours.
Yep.
Countdown timer right there on the site. He will have 20 cases available. And your color choices, if this is true, are going to be either red or gray. Yeah. So, very interesting. You will have no choice in your weight. It will be brass with a serial number, which is kind of cool. And if you guys remember the past run of the Fjell, there were two options. You could get stainless steel or brass. So here you don't have that choice. And also, note the price. $340. If I'm being honest, that's a pretty big bump up from what we saw in the Fjell Round 1, because originally it was $250, and that got you your case and your weight.
And so your plate.
No, you had to pay extra for it.
Oh,
but they were pretty cheap.
They're like $30.
$20 for like a stainless steel plate or something.
Yeah, round 1 was $250 though.
Yeah, so here we're seeing roughly a $90 increase, if I'm remembering correctly. If my facts are wrong, please someone correct me, of course. But presumably we're seeing a $90 increase in price for case and weight, which actually is kind of interesting. I believe he's using a different factory. I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I wonder why we have such a high upgrade in price, because I thought the reason that he decided to go with this new weight design was to actually cut costs, because this is supposed to be easier to machine, because, at least part of it is just kind of like a block. Whereas the round 1 Fjell was a lot more intricate. So really interested to see kind of what's going on here. But if nothing else, and you really want a Fjell, bam, they're coming. And this is what he's calling a test run, just to make sure everything goes fine with the manufacturer and stuff, and the quality is good, which is why he's only doing a limited run of 20. And if he likes what happens and he likes the quality, then he will push out more units.
Hopefully,
I spoke with Leandrin the other day, actually, and he's been kind of in and out of the community the last quite a few months, which is why everything's been kind of scarce. But he did remind me that he is now kind of like back in full force. He's got a lot of time off, and he's going to be working on a lot of keyboard stuff. So if you've been waiting for things like this, the Fjell Classic, and hopefully the upcoming Fjell Pro and more Cleat-based stuff like that, that's all going to be answered in the near future for you. So that's cool if nothing else. But the price is a little disappointing to me, honestly.
It's very disappointing for me.
Just because the first one was $250.
The first one was $250, and like mine has issues, to be honest, and so like.
Oh yeah, I think all of them did.
Like I feel okay with my round 1 being at $250, honestly, because I had the really cheap option to upgrade the to add the brass plate, which I thought was fine. But for this at $340
Yeah, before shipping.
before shipping and possibly PayPal fees if he does charge that. I can't like if you guys haven't, I've done in the past a review on the Fjell, and I like the Fjell, but I like it for $250. I couldn't say based on my existing one, I could like it at $340.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough pill to swallow, but hey, a lot of people are wanting the Fjell.
It's gonna all 20 units are gonna sell in under 2 minutes. In under 2 minutes. Yeah. So people already who want them are ready to get them. So it's
they're already. I mean, when you look at round one Fjells being resold on the market, most of them are being sold for more than 340 anyways. So clearly, people are willing to pay more for this kind of product. Even though I do think it should be a little bit cheaper. I thought the round one Fjell was priced pretty well. You get a tray mount case and a weight for $250.
You get a lot of case, by the way. It's heavy.
I mean, it's a lot of metal. Yeah, certainly. So looking forward to seeing how this goes, but I do think all 20 of those will sell out pretty fast. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Hopefully everything goes amazingly and the quality goes up. And maybe with the next run that isn't a test run, he can get the prices a little bit lower. I think that would be cool. Because the first run of the Fjells was actually supposed to be a test run as well. He only had 50 units. That was limited as well. So, we don't really know what to expect yet, but hopefully this goes super well.
And before saying it's a test run is the new marketing strategy of mechanical keyboard runners.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's a early access game. This is the early access game of keyboards then, right? If this trend continues.
I get it though. I get where he's coming from. Like it makes sense. It would suck to do a run of Fjell where he sells 400 units or whatever and there's issues, major issues, because it's much easier to fix, 20 or less issues than it is to fix 2, 3, 4, 600 issues. So that makes sense on a level. Obviously, you need to be a little bit more patient. There's going to be a lot more time invested here, but I don't think he's necessarily wrong.
I just say that because, like I said, round one was supposed to be after round one, we're going to fix all the issues, and then right away I'll run a round two because then we'll get everything right, and then he never did that. He said he would. That never happened. That never materialized, and now he's saying he's going to do another test run. I mean, I like Leandrin, but from what I see, it's just unfortunate it's going this way so far. And I really hope he's going to turn around and this really truly will be a test run. And then after this, he's going to do a big full production run that a lot of people want. But it's hard to say from at least what I've seen. Yeah.
He got really busy with school, if I'm not mistaken. University, college, whatever they call it out there. But yeah, it's something to consider, I suppose. But regardless, we're here. We are now a little over 12 hours left, and you can jump in on this Fjell Classic Rev 2, and hopefully it turns out super awesome.
Hopefully it does.
And yeah, I always wish the best for them.
With all of that said, I still love my Fjell. I really do.
It's still an amazing product. So there is that. All right, we're taking a little bit too long.
Yeah, so let's rush through this. This one's a quick one because it's a light and heavy topic at the same time because it's an interest check for 25 gram and 675 gram springs by Krellbit, Brian of SwitchMod.net. Check it out when you get a chance. They're gonna clone the Mega Black Spring basically and make a super light 25 gram. Because you can. And you know what? I respect the mentality of, why not? Just do it. Just do it.
I'm gonna go against that. I think this is absolutely silly. I think both 25 gram and 675 gram are both wildly unusable weights for 99.999 repetent percent of people. 675 just doesn't even make sense for starters. 25, I can kind of see that working if you have some kind of severe disability that allows you to not use the muscles fully in your arms, wrists, fingers, whatever. But you know, I thought that's what Gateron clears were for originally. But Gateron clear is obviously quite a bit heavier.
Way too heavy, man. We got to go 10 grams lower with that plus or minus 5 grams tolerance. You know what I'm saying? Hey, for my next birthday, I'm just gonna, instead of blowing out candles, I'm gonna blow to actuate 25 gram switches.
Yeah, it'd be fun to get some of these both weights of springs just to kind of see like what stupid things we could do with them. Because there's got to be something. Like, no one's gonna really build a board with these and then like comfortably use it long term. That's just not gonna happen. But if nothing else, I mean, they're pretty inexpensive. You get, you know, like 110 of them for $10. So, you know, it's not that much of an investment to give it a try. So, I don't know, man.
Check it out. There's a form. There's a form. Go for it. Let's move on to our last news topic before we get too far behind in life and things. Interest check for an FR4 switch mod station, which is basically like, hey, FR4, what is it? It's the material for PCBs, basically. And you know what? Instead of acrylic, let's make a switch mod station out of this. It's tougher than acrylic, so wouldn't that make sense since you're putting pressure on that plate all the time? Like, I have that issue. A lot of people know I've broken my acrylic mod station, a part of it, because, you know, that's just reality. I'm still going to blame the Utemu eye switches, and I fully do still. But maybe that would have been less of an issue if I had a stronger material than acrylic.
Yeah, so pretty interesting. This is something I would definitely support, personally. If you scroll down to the comments, one of the users that replies shows an acrylic mod station with a lot of really interesting features that I hope to see on things coming out in the future. He's got lube holder, brush holder, you know, things like that. I think that's really cool.
Does that excite you? Does that really excite you, Brian? I feel like it really excites you.
As a lube artiste myself,
like
I would really appreciate that kind of features on my my mod station, because like otherwise, like I'm just like, where do I, you know, like I have to like find places like put a vial of lube or like pour lube into something and then use that, and you know, hope my brush doesn't fall on the floor, you know, stuff like that. Like this would be like a really huge win, even though it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, here's a form right now on Keep Talks with FR4. Fill it out, give Tonga Tong some feedback on what things he should have or shouldn't have on it. And if you're big into Switch modding, or you want to get big into Switch modding, this would be a great tool to have. So, awesome.
That's right. And
awesome.
If you want to mod some switches, well, guess what? You're going to need some switches. And you know where you can get switches?
Where can you get some switches, Brian?
You get switches at lots of places. But one of the cool places you can get switches is novelkeys.xyz, one of our fantastic partners. You can go there, you can get all sorts of different switches. They got, you know, he's got pretty much every Kale switch in existence nowadays. He's got awesome things going on. He's got the big switch. The Hako Royals now in stock. That's still pretty new. I've been using them lately. I've been absolutely loving the Hako Royal clears. They're a little bit heavy to get used to, but if you're a fan of heavier switches, definitely give them a try. Heck yes. And also, while you're there and you're ordering stuff, pick up a shirt. His Novel Key shirt's really good. Promo code TOPClack gets you 5% off your entire order as well.
2 words.
So keep that in mind.
Top
2
Clack.
2 words.
Let's move on to our next ever so wonderful sponsor, Input Club, who, of course, you can pre-order the Kira, which actually had an update recently. They have members of Input Club on the way to China, checking on the production of the Kira, making sure everything's going all hunky-dory, all good in the hood for that. So they actually teased the hard cases. They're going to have the same similar kind of cases like the Night Fox and White Fox have, but for the Kira, which is awesome because those are really, really cool cases, by the way. Taco switches, you can get them there as well. They're also running interest check on DSA Groove. So, yeah, Kono.store, everyone. Kono.
Join the GMK TA90 key set.
TA90, also. Yes. That's
going on right now, so it looks phenomenal.
Right meow.
Must buy for Top Clack.
Right meow.
IMO. Of course, and then we have the Beast in the East, which you can find over at Z Frontier. And they have all sorts of things like, you know, after you're done modding all your switches and you put them in your fancy keyboard, what do you want to put on them? Keycaps. Got lots of keycaps going on here. They got group buys and interest checks for everything and anything, and something that your aunt and your uncle wanted to run 3 years ago. It's probably ran on here because they proxy for everything nowadays. Of course, they got milkshake going on right now because it brings all the boys to the yard. I think it looks really cool. The accents are quite nice as well. And just about any set you could think of, bam, it's here. Sets on sets on sets.
Sets on sets on sets. Z Frontiers would be awesome. Also, starting with the letter Z is our last but certainly not least sponsor, which is Zeal PC, Zeal Generation. Zeal is awesome. He is running the round 2 for the Zephyr 65% custom keyboard kit. Oof, that 5mm plates, that brass weights. Oof.
I am using one right now.
Yeah.
And like I know he's our sponsor. And this isn't even my keyboard, so it's not like I got paid in this or anything in any sort of way. The Zephyr is definitely one of the better typing experiences I've had, like just hands down. I don't know if it's just because of the way it's designed, the way it's mounted, the 5mm brass plate. I don't know, but it feels really nice. That's all I'm gonna say.
Solid. Check that out when you get a chance. Check out the rest of the interesting things like the switches, Xylants, Zilios, Telios, and air purifiers, because hey, sometimes you just gotta, have a filter to make sure you don't have toxins or allergens in your life.
You know what's stupid?
What is stupid?
I kind of want to get one.
No balls, you won't.
I might. When I can afford $100 on this, test me. We'll see.
Oof. Oof. Okay, with that, we are going to be dialing in our guest in a quick moment. So let me hit this that's not the right transition screen. Where's this?
The Batman one is always the right one.
Insert waiting / transition here. This is the correct one. And let's just do a little bit of a ring, add person to the call. Ring. Howdy. Good to see you, Mr. Heroyjenkins, aka John. Thank you for joining us on Top Back today. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Pretty amazing.
Big thumbs up. So, for the people that might not be aware of who you are and what you get your fingers into in this community, can you just give us a little bit of backstory on who you are, what got you to the community, and the kind of things you're working on right now?
Yeah, for sure. So, my name's John. I got into the community about 1.5 years ago. One of my buddies, who I used to work with, was a mechanical keyboard enthusiast, and he kind of started out with the Code keyboards and then the Ergodox. And I saw this Ergodox on his desk, and I was like, what the heck is that? And so I'm a programmer. It's my day job. So I type a lot, and I was like, okay, maybe, at this point in my life, I want to invest in a nicer keyboard. So I started out with, I think, a Logitech full-size keyboard, Cherry MX Browns. Not proud of it.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
We were all there.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It just all kind of escalated from there, and I think the velocity has been getting faster and faster over time. But I wasn't really much of a Reddit user a couple years ago. I actually think I only signed up for Reddit about 3 or 4 years ago. So that was like kind of a new thing for me. Like, whoa, there are these people on the internet that like talk to each other and share cool stuff. So I found the mechanical keyboard subreddit, and I've gotten into collecting keyboards. Personally, I'm really into vintage Alp stuff. I think probably my favorite board right now is M0116. Painstakingly took it apart, desoldered all the switches, lubed them, patched like 4 different broken traces on the PCB, just converted it to USB, like the whole 9 yards. I have like a custom wrist rest with like an engraved M0116. So I'm definitely more into like sort of the retro and like vintage keyboards. I have like maybe 4 AEKs on my shelf next to me. So it's a little bit of an obsession with Alps and vintage stuff. But I got into one of the boards I got into. I actually don't have a working one. I only have like the shell of one. Is the M010. So maybe sometime last year, I thought it would be cool if somebody made one from metal. And I guess, depending on what happened with the timing, because now in retrospect, I know that there were folks like Red Scarf already working on one at the time, just didn't publicize it on the English language sites. And same thing like Retro 60, like I think there are now been like 4 or 5 different boards that emulate the M010. But I just started watching YouTube videos and trying to learn CAD modeling. So I posted something to Reddit, and then Jan or Jan Glad reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm pretty good at rendering. I'm also good at modeling, and I want to design a keyboard. Like, can I help you? So just kind of started from there. That's when I learned about Discord, started working with him, and then just kind of realized, okay, I think at this point I'm going to try and run a group buy for this, because that's the only real way to do this is at some amount of scale. And then it just kind of escalated from there. I started my site, Desk Candy, set up a company to sort of organize this all around, and it's addicting. I can talk to you guys about this in a bit, but I have like four projects that I've made real progress on in the works right now. Not all of them I've published on the internet, but yeah.
Cool. So could you kind of take us through the design process and how and why you started with the modern M0110?
Yeah, something that really stood out to me about that board is the bezels. Yeah, there we go. So basically the chamfers and the way that on some sides they're a more steep, short angle like this, and sometimes they're like this. And it just blew my mind the way that it wraps around. Like if you just look at that corner alone has consumed like at least tens of hours of both my and Jan's time. And it was just like, without having like a deep amount of experience in CAD modeling, it's just a really, maybe there are other people who are saying, oh, that's super easy, but at least from my perspective, it was really difficult. Sort of like have to model these like 2 different circles and then gradually draw these lines to sort of fold over the curve, but it's uneven. I'm not describing it in the best way, but the design process, I guess, to actually answer your question, it was just a lot of back and forth between myself and Jan. It ended up becoming that he was doing, he just became much better at the CAD stuff, and I was better at getting answers from people and like trying to make this a reality. So one of the advantages I guess I had was I speak Chinese, so it was easy for me to like reach out to vendors in China and like send them information, communicate with them, and get stuff started. In retrospect, I probably should have asked other folks in the community and just who they were using as factories or whatever, but I just sort of started on Alibaba and got some designs over to them, and there was a lot of back and forth because the design was really not like machinable to begin with. So it's just like a very slow learning process, and that's most of the reason why the interest check, going from interest check to group buy, just took such a long time because I had no experience with any of this stuff. Neither did Jan, and it's been a great learning process. Yeah, I mean, I hope that answers your question about like, the design process.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I remember seeing it at the Brian and I both saw it at the last NorCal meetup, so that was definitely a while ago. Like I said, it didn't take you a while, but already by that time, you guys were working really hard. So a lot of people were definitely curious because it took so long. Now, what are like kind of the improvements or changes you made between that one all the way last November and the one I have in my hand right now?
Yeah, so actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, that board is right behind me. Just going to grab so One of the major improvements we made was that there were the machine shop we were using originally couldn't really do the corners with a high enough fidelity, that there were machining tool marks. And it's probably, my webcam is probably not quite good enough, but maybe you can see there are kind of these like vertical lines. So yeah, we're a little bit, I wouldn't say perfectionist, because you know, the boards that we produced are not perfect, and perfection, I think, is the enemy of progress in a lot of ways. But
that's a good way to put that.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Thanks. So I would say the machining tool marks is getting kind of like a higher resolution, because we were working for a while with a manufacturer in China that their solution to the problem was just to blast out the tool marks with really coarse material, and so you lose a little bit of definition, like the lines and the edges are not quite as sharp. So we just like obsessed a lot with these like small machining details, and it's stuff that it's kind of unfortunate that some of it you lose, especially with zero coating. Like anodizing, it really comes through quite well.
Sorry to interrupt you, just be right back 1 second. You can keep continuing. Just want to let you guys know. Be right back.
Yeah, cool. And there were a couple other details that we missed in earlier designs. So, and I wouldn't say we missed, the machine shop missed, but again, this is kind of like part of the learning process of learning how to communicate ideas. So if you look kind of on the inner edge between the keycaps and the top of the case, we had like a very, very small chamfer. So the factory missed that, and then also the USB port. There was a lot of detail lost there as well. And the reason that the factory we were working with originally did those is because it cut down on machining time, and sort of we insisted that we do it another way. And we're looking for more of like an aesthetic approach, and the back and forth just took so long. And we weren't getting the level of quality that we wanted, that we decided to move the factory to the US. I mean, we didn't move the factory, but we worked with the US vendor instead. And the guy's shop is around an hour and a half drive away from me. So I've met him multiple times. Like we've gone over stuff in person, spent time with him and the machines, seen like some of his other work. And it's been like a really collaborative process.
Cool. So is the one that you were just showing off there, that was the one from the last NorCal meetup, correct? Like 8 months ago or whatever? Yep. Because I remember we're talking with you about that prototype then, and you know, I was like going over it, and I was just oohing and ahhing, and obviously I'm not a perfectionist on any level, because you were like, oh, it has all these issues here and here, and I'm like, I don't even see this shit. So like, I definitely don't need to be designing boards, but it's interesting to see that you've made that many like small minor improvements over that time process. So would you say you're 100% happy with the way the current prototype is, like the ones that you're actually going to bring to the market, or are there still more changes between the prototype and what you're bringing to market?
For sure, that's a great question. So you know, that's part of the reason that, or that's one of the main reasons that Huey has the board right now. So you know, a lot of group buys don't launch with review units, and oftentimes you might get a review unit after the group buy ended, which I'm not sure why people would do that. Maybe it's because they're going to do another round and they want to see what they can improve. But I'm doing all the manufacturing here, and you know, I can make changes very quickly to the process. So in terms of what we're going to change from a machining perspective, basically nothing. There's one very small change with the screw threading on some of the screws, like the screws that mount. And Huey probably noticed this from the plate. The screws that he has for the plate mounting to the top are M2.5, meaning like the outer diameter is 2.5 millimeters, but we're actually going to have M2. It was just a minor oversight from, you know, everybody has a lot of M2 screws laying around, or at least if you've been in this hobby long enough, right? Mm-hmm. So we wanted to make sure it was M2. It was just kind of a little bit of a miscommunication, but the issue was rectified like weeks ago. Other than that, like machining, totally fine. We're in really, really good shape there. The major issue that that we're going to address with production is the quality of serial coding. So that was definitely an issue with the board that Huey got. Basically what happened is that I'm working with this guy who does a lot of gun parts. And so there's been like a lot of back and forth because at first it was like, well, what the hell is this? Like this is such a confusing thing that you want me to do. And also like some of the tools and some of the equipment that the serial code guy has as well are not sized for keyboards. Like a lot of the gun parts he does are like 4 inches long. So, you know, there's a little bit of a learning curve in terms of getting an even finish over like a larger part. But basically, the first prototype serial coded that we got, it was actually done in 2 different colors. So the top color and the bottom color were different. And I'm not sure why our vendor thought that was a good idea, but he was experimenting with, he was basically, he was working with this new color. He was working with a larger part, so he decided to experiment with different baking temperatures. Serial code is basically like a heat-cured process. It's like powder coating. And so we did it at different temperatures, and then we basically went back and we did the darker part at the lighter colors temperature, and we also touched up the lighter part. So we kind of got 2 coats, and one of the parts had a dark coat and a light coat. We also did it at night. The lighting was not that great. You know, there were a lot of factors that just contributed to it not coming out quite the way we wanted. So in terms of how we're going to fix that going forward, so actually, in terms of the first couple of production units, my serial code vendor just got like a new filter for the actual like serial. It's like paint basically. It's like a spray paint gun. So he has a finer filter, so we should have less sort of gunk that comes out of the spray. So it should be smoother. We're not going to be double coating anything in different colors for sure. Like when we do a case, say somebody got Prism Pink, which is one of the serial code colors. It's kind of like a hot magenta. We're going to do the bottom and top at the same time so that we know it was baked at the same temperature for the same period of time. It should come out very consistently between the 2 parts. The other thing is like also, you know, if there's anything I've learned, it's that you can do so much more when you're working with other people. So in terms of helping check my work as well, the first couple of production boards, especially like for those customers who are in Europe, they're going to be shipped directly to Jan, as well as a couple of test boards. So he's also going to just sort of help double check my work so that we're on the same page in terms of the expectations for quality.
Certainly. Awesome. So you were mentioning projects that you're working on aside from the M0110. Can you talk at all about anything that you've been working on, or anything that's upcoming, or maybe that you haven't teased even yet that you would like to show off here?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the opportunity. So I put an interest check, pretty low effort interest check, just in all honesty, on Keep Talk about a week ago for brass Alps plates. So 60%. The idea just popped into my head because one of the metal suppliers I'm working with for M010 has 1.2 millimeter brass plate. So, and I kind of looked around. There doesn't seem to be anybody doing 1.2 millimeter brass plates. So basically AEK 60% layout. If you're buying an Alp 64, you want to build an AEK 60%. You know, you can get one of those and then have a brass Alps board. Another project I'm working on is basically, so it's here. I actually have a prototype in hand. I've kind of teased a corner of it on Instagram, but this is a low profile case. It's top mount. This is a 3D printed prototype, so it's very thin. It's like 14 millimeters thin. Sort sort of, I don't have all the parts for it from the prototype, but it's kind of like the text case in that it has like a bigger lip on the bottom. And I kind of designed it to be very machinable. So this would be like a fraction of the cost of an M010. So that was one of my design goals going into it. I don't know exactly, how much people would be interested in this, but another cool design feature, and be interesting to get your guys' feedback, is
for sure. Yeah.
I gave these like 3mm wells for the plate. So you can either do a 3mm not brass plate, 3mm acrylic plate, or you could do a 1.5mm steel plate or brass plate with a 1.5mm cork spacer.
Ooh.
So I'm trying to play around with new materials, both for or also EVA foam, so like 2mm EVA foam, so that we can actually get dampening in a totally different kind of way. Where like the plate, you have like the plate and then the case and then kind of the soft sandwich going around the rim.
Oh, that's really cool.
That sounds super intriguing.
That sounds really cool, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, you had me at top mounted low profile because I was trying to think if I'd ever even seen that before, like really, like on an enthusiast grade product. I can't remember the last time I have, so I think that's gonna be kind of interesting.
White Fox is your answer.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But his is gonna have a higher lip, so you can actually like use the lip for stuff like the foam.
His is also going to be 60%, which I appreciate more than 65%.
True.
But yeah, no, the dampening, like using gaskets or the EVA dampening or even cork actually would be really interesting. That is all very super intriguing. I think that's kind of like a super like niche thing in this hobby that hasn't really been discovered yet, and I'm calling it right now. That kind of shit is going to be like 2019. Like the super minute details of how something can be mounted and like what materials can affect sound and feel like to that degree. I think that's going to be something that's going to be explored a lot more next year.
Cool. Just one other thing about that case to run by you guys and get your feedback is, so the White Fox had recessed screws. So I don't have my screws yet, and I'm waiting for them to arrive from China. But you can see I have these like screw holes go around the edge. So what I wanted to do was introduce a new idea of color matching with screws. So basically M3 anodized screws. So say you have like a red keycap set, an orange keycap set, whatever. You can actually color match the screws that go around the case instead of trying to hide the screws.
That's also really cool.
That's cool. Actually, like, in a way, that's actually a. It sounds really modern, but actually, it's actually a retro idea in keyboards, because a lot of people know I have my really old school MX Mini, which has green anodized screws. And like it basically hasn't been done for a long time. So I'm really happy that it's something that you're definitely considering, because not really.
Yeah, no, this is something I feel like I'm gonna have to buy at this point.
Okay, cool.
just to try it out.
Nice, thank you. And then I guess the other project, I kind of teased this a little bit in response to one of Huey's comments on Keep Talk, but we already started working on a macro pad or numpad that matches the modern M010. So we're working with Martin Watt to design like a custom PCB. We've already started working on the design, probably start getting quotes and a prototype in the next few weeks. And like my goal is that eventually we can have like a really quick turnaround from like idea to prototype, because I have partners here in California. So, we don't have to worry about shipping from China, slow communication, time zone issues. I'm hoping that we basically had this idea like 2 weeks ago. I think we can probably get a prototype within the next month.
Awesome.
And then one other thing is, so I just built my Contra kit a couple days ago, and I started working on and I'm working with Jan on this as well. It's kind of a common theme here, but working on a aluminum Contra case.
Wow.
And that could be, so that's another thing in the works. So stay tuned for that.
Very cool. Lots of interesting things.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things. That's awesome.
I still need to build my Contra too.
Same. I don't have a thin enough tip for the microcontroller, so I'm just like hesitant until I get one that's thin enough to work on it.
Yeah. Anyways, now's as good a time as any to start to roll into a Q&A. So in chat, if you got questions, we got answers. Ask any of us anything. Make sure you use the @TopClack tag so that way we can see it easier. Helps us out quite a bit. But of course, the quintessential question must come first. So you can take some time to think about this if you want. Do you prefer waffles or pancakes, and why?
Pancakes for sure.
Yes, pancakes.
How long has it been since we had someone prefer pancakes?
It's been quite a while. Quite a while.
Fantastic.
I think this matters because it's been so long. Why do you prefer pancakes? A lot of people have good reasons for preferring waffles, but pancakes is where it's at.
So I think probably the main reason I like pancakes is because maybe two reasons. One is it's easier to have like a filling. I really like chocolate chips in my pancakes personally. And then I also like consistency. I like maple syrup on both my waffles and my pancakes, but the syrup kind of gets stuck in these like wells. So you might have a bite that's like way too much syrup, or a bite that has no syrup and it's super dry. So for that reason, I like pancakes.
Oh man, this is like the best pancakes versus waffles segment we've had in so long, because the reason that most people like waffles are like the exact reasons you don't like waffles. Which blows my mind. That's fantastic. I love it. Anyways, well, we got some questions rolling in already, so we'll get right into this. Morning Coffee is asking, and of course, if you don't want to share this information, you don't have to. But he's asking, how many M0110 units have you sold already?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I actually don't have the exact number right now because, as you know, we're working with proxies in EU and China, so I don't have like a live feed of their orders, but we're getting close to about 100 right now, which I think we would definitely say it's been a successful. I mean, our MOQ was lower. We didn't really publicize our MOQ because at the end of the day, one of the things that I'm trying to do with Best Candy is that I want to have more opportunities for people to buy stuff at retail, like in inventory. Like I love group buys, and I love that people can get together a group of people with very little like risk and like inventory or sort of like capital risk and produce really cool products. But that experience is not that great, especially for newcomers. So, even if we didn't hit our MOQ, I would have used my own cash to buy up inventory to sell later. So,
very noble process. I like that. All right. Polyzoo is asking, question for Heroyjenkins. What type of lube do you like to use with your ALP switches, both linear and tactile ALPs? Okay,
so I don't have linear ALPs, so I'm not going to answer that one. Side answer, I think for linear, just go MX. I'm not. I would preface this all by saying I'm not the biggest switch snob in the world. I like, for linears, I think probably my favorite right now is box blacks, which maybe is a controversial statement. I don't know, but I like how they
switch. Mm-hmm. It's a good value switch.
Very smooth, very very stable. I've had kind of a mixed experience with Gatoron yellows in the past, but so in terms of lube, I use this dry bicycle chain lube for Alps. I forget what it's called. It's the one that like a lot of people on Keycaps have said they've used. If you're curious later, hit me up on Discord or Reddit, and I'll see what I can.
Is it this stuff?
No, it comes. Okay. It's in a black bottle.
Gotcha.
See, maybe I can. quickly search my.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I tried using this on Alps because a bunch of people recommended it to me, and I feel like it made a very minimal difference. So I'm kind of looking for a better lube for Alps as well.
Oh,
So,
I think let me see. I think I used the Finish Line dry bike lube.
There we go.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
All right, next question. Violet Viceroy says, what is something you learned about keyboard design in the process of designing your own board that you think all enthusiasts should know? Interesting question.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I mean, I think this to some extent goes for product design in general, but that your own personal preferences aren't necessarily as important as other people's. So, like, it's when you're designing a keyboard, especially if you want to do a group buy, you can't just do it according to what you want. Like, maybe that's kind of where it starts and where the idea comes from. But this is why we have interest checks. Like, you have to get feedback from people. For example, like Jan and I disagreed about a lot of different design details. But ultimately, sort of between the two of us, we can kind of figure something out, and also get casual feedback from people on Discord or Reddit or whatever, Instagram. Just the fact that your opinion matters, but other people's opinions matter more.
Fair point. Very fair point. All right. Once Saved Gaming is asking Heroyjenkins a question. Will the M0110 accept the OG caps from the original M0110 like the AEK does?
No. And so that is a really great question. So the M010, the original one, the width of the entire board is 14.5 units, whereas modern 60% boards are 15 units wide. So if you put the original caps into the new board, you basically have half a unit gap. So you could put the switches in. I don't know how you would get them mounted onto, or you could put the keycaps in. I don't know how you would mount them to modern switches. I mean, I suppose you could throw in the SKCC Alps and hand wire or something, but for modern M010, I don't think there's enough vertical clearance in the bottom of the case to put in SKCC Alps. It does work with like modern, like small Alps, but those like really old Alp switches that are like a couple centimeter tall, it's not going to fit.
Yeah, those are pretty monstrous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Morning Coffee is asking, has there been any communication between you and Apple with the M0110?
No, there hasn't been any communication between us. Apple, I'm available anytime. Give me a call.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just want to be clear that this is not meant to be like a complete like duplication of the M010. And maybe modern M010 was a good name, maybe it was a bad name, but I think they're very fundamentally different boards at the end of the day. They look really similar, and that's where the inspiration comes from. But in terms of like function, it's totally different.
Okay. Well, we're actually caught up on questions, so I'm gonna ping one more time. If anybody has any questions, make sure you put them in. We'll wait a little bit longer before we head out then. But also, a quick question just from me: how did you feel during your interest check process when Red Scarf launched their M0110 alternative? Is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah, I mean, at first it was a little surprising, but at the same time, like I also get that Red Scarf is in a totally different like enthusiast community. Like the enthusiast community over in China doesn't have a lot of like cross communication with us, like Geekmaker and Z Frontier. You know, maybe it's sort of like a lesson that we could have more collaborations between both communities, because basically the Western community and the Chinese community barely overlap except for certain larger group buys. So you know, I actually think his board is pretty cool because of the whole breakout PCB, the USB hub, pretty awesome actually. And some of those design features were stuff that we thought about as well. So, you know, it was a little surprising, but I also thought it was kind of cool. If anything, it probably increased hype for our version, because a lot of people saw that board and then they saw this like common thread on Massdrop, and it was also neat to see folks in the community who were like, yo, you should check out this other really cool board instead. That people were just kind of randomly repping the modern M010. So
nice.
I did not buy one myself. Just at the time I was tapped out on my personal keyboard budget, but
fair enough. Zerpocalypse is asking, what is the projected retail cost for the M0110? So presumably when you stock it in your store.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to do it about the same. One thing that could affect retail pricing, and also pricing if we do like another round or new additions, because we're trying to look into stuff like milling it out of polycarbonate instead of aluminum, crazy stuff like that. Anodizing was more expensive than our estimate, and that was actually a big mistake on my part. So for us to do the anodized units at the price we're offering it, we have to have extremely low error rates at QC in order to not lose money. And that to me, like, since, you know, it's largely my capital and cash on the line, it feels a little bit scary. We're okay on the Cerakote ones, but just, I think in the future, if anything changes with pricing, it's going to mean that maybe Cerakote stays the same, but anodizing is more expensive for sure. So that's all I can say right now.
All right. Jacob R4341 is asking, to all three of us, what is our favorite Alps switch?
Browns, oranges, and because the keycaps are compatible, I'm gonna count it even though it's SMK Blues, Monterey's.
Monterey Blues are really underrated.
They're great. I have one over here somewhere.
I'm probably gonna say, oh man, SKCM Browns probably. I mean, I have a soft spot for a lot of like the more like niche ones. Like I like the SKCM Ambers as well. And I actually do kind of like the Alps Linears, even though I know they're not like, I don't think they're objectively great or better than MX per se, but I do have a soft spot for like the SKCL Browns, which are really tough to find. But I also get down on the SKCL Greens as well.
Cool. For me, it's probably either salmon or white damp. Probably not the most popular answer, but I don't know, especially in a big case like the AEK2, I just love the chunky, I wouldn't say it's mushy, it's like damp, but it's solid, which to me is a super unique feeling. So I mean, I actually built my Contra with white damp. Super excited to put that to use. I've been using a plank at work, so I'm probably going to swap that out.
Nice. Violet Vicepro with a really good question. Are there any trends you see in the Chinese keyboard community that you would like to see in the West? Sorry, he says Chinese keyboards, not Chinese keyboard community. So yeah, trends.
I would also love to hear really what you like Huey and Brian think of this question. I don't know if I have that much of a perspective to offer, other than it seems like there's a much more rapid pace of development with PCBs over there. And I personally would like to see more Western designed PCBs. Like as some of you know, I've been selling XT60s that I've basically been buying from KP Republic. And they're good PCBs, but there are just certain things about it that are just not quite right or not completely what I want. So like something I'd like to see in the Western community is like more basically like a redux of GH60. Like GH60 was great, but it has problems. Like I want to see a new version of that that is really designed for like what people are doing today. Also TKL PCB. I mean, I saw that Heine Bush is working on one, which is super awesome. Like I want to see more projects like what he's doing.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm not like super into PCBs per se, so I don't really know like kind of what's going on, because most PCBs work just fine for me because I'm not really too nitpicky about what I need. But I would certainly say just kind of like the intensity of some of the designs in the Chinese community. And I've said this before on stream, and you know, if you've watched let's say the COD 67 review or read my ALF X2 review, I think that the Chinese community seems a lot less afraid to take risks than the Western communities. Western communities like to kind of just keep things simple and clean, which isn't bad, but we like to keep things really simple, really clean, and, you know, like do a lot of like retro stuff, just like redoing retro stuff, which is all fine and good. But when you look at boards like the ALF X2, the ALF X3, you know, the COD, like boards that have like a lot of really strange, like different design language to them, I think that's like, it's really, really interesting just to look at and see and compare with some of the more popular boards in the Western community. So I think they're all about just like trying like different and like really uncommon things, whereas, you know, we in the Western community tend to play it safe a bit more. Just something I noticed kind of at a glance.
Yeah, it's pretty much my position as well. When China tries things that are out of the norm, of course, they're the ones who take the risks. That they in my opinion, think of some of the most polarizing boards, like the CA66. Even though it was, you know, based off the original IBM PC Junior, they did a very innovative take on it, and that was met in both the Western and Eastern community with like, you hate it or you absolutely love it. Things like that I thought was really, really cool, especially, for example, the little RGB strip on the side, because that's really cool. That's unique. So they're trying new things like that in terms of looks, but they're also trying to, in small ways, innovate even for smaller things. Kind of like Brian said earlier in the episode, one of the big things moving on to late 2018 and through 2019 is people are going to start getting very specific when they design boards on different ways you can mount, whether it's using gaskets, O-rings, extra cushions for this or that. For example, the Jur A06, A08, whatever, that ran recently on Keycaps, I joined it. It's a top-mounted PCB. Normally you have top-mounted plate builds, but instead of, you know, having a plate mounted on the top of the case, it's just only the PCB, straight up, and you're mounting the switches on the PCB. Because normally when you have a PCB mount, it's tray-mounted, because you need to support the PCB on the bottom. But they're like, nah, let's just top-mount the PCB. Why hasn't anyone done this? Let's do it.
That's super cool.
I don't know if it'll end up feeling good or bad, because if it's too weak of a PCB, it might have too much flex or break. But if they use a firm enough FR4, then it's going to be fine. But I don't know, and I'm excited to try it out. And that's the thing. I can try it out because they're willing to just be crazy and do that. While I don't think anyone in the West would think of even trying that in the near future.
For sure. Geo is saying true USB 3/3.1 PCBs win. Yeah, I mean, we're getting closer. Like, we're seeing more of them, if nothing else.
If I recall, the only C2C PCBs are input clubs, right? I don't think anyone else is C2C, because like the CA66 and the Melody 96 are only C to A. So.
Yeah, well, he's not saying C as in the connector. He's saying 3/3.1.
True, but I think he means true as
But
in C to, because true also it means C to C.
Well, yeah, but I mean, how often are you going to use a C to C at a desktop computer?
But C is the future everywhere, though. Eventually, all of your desktop computers, laptops will all be C, though. That's what I think. Yeah.
I suppose so. Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, we will.
I think we're way too early on that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Yeah. All right. So it looks like that will wrap up our Q&A. So as usual,
thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us and talk with us and answer some questions. We definitely appreciate it. And we definitely wish the best for your upcoming projects, and I'm really interested to see a lot of the things you have coming out.
Cool.
So
I'll keep you all posted.
Everyone, head over to deskcandy.xyz to check out the modern M001 M0110 if you're interested. I have only a very limited time for my review period left, and then I'll be sending this out to the next awesome reviewer who will also be working on a review. My review will probably come out sometime next week as I finish compiling the footage that I will be taking tomorrow and the day after. So keep your eyes out for that. Check out Desk Candy once again. Thank you, John, so much for joining us.
And just the group buy closes end of next weekend, and it's the M0110. It's new Alps PCB, 60% PCB, and an Alps Keycap set, which I didn't mention, but that's also happening.
Very cool. So I did put the link to that site in there, so if you guys want to check that out, go to deskcandy.xyz. The link is right there in the Twitch chat. As usual, below our stream, you can join our official Discord server. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Come hang out with us, play some video games, talk about anything and everything. It's a good fun place to hang out. And, of course, as always, you can catch us next week, same time, same place. We're pretty darn consistent about that. We will have a build stream tonight soon. I need, zero preparation for it. So we're shooting for 8 o'clock, maybe 8:15. So
8:15.
So, yeah, about 35 to 45 minutes. I will make a post in both Reddit and the Discord. So if you guys want to come watch me build the meme and talk about the meme and the gasket mount system and the tofu case I just got in, things like that, make sure you show up for that. So I hope to see you guys all there.
Till then, everyone, have a wonderful Thursday. Take care.